Putting an entire vehicle together is really about balance. You can always go further in certain areas, but if you do, then other things could suffer. So we started working on the new Volt more than 4 years ago, almost as soon as the first generation Volt was launched. We're actually building it, both first in just math data or virtually building it, and then we're building the real thing and we're testing it.
When the Volt was conceived, it was conceived to be a car that could satisfy any owner's needs. Chevrolet created a new segment of vehicle that allows people to adopt an EV with no compromise. And the data from our owners in Generation 1 shows exactly that. So where do we go in Generation 2? Customers tell us they love range, and so we want to give them more range. So we worked around every system of the car to make it more efficient. And we worked inside the battery pack. We have an all-new battery cell. It delivers us 20% more energy by volume. And in the end, the battery ends up weighing less than it does in the Generation 1 Volt.
So we spend a lot of time working on that entire flow of energy from the battery into the drive unit all the way to the ground and making sure that each of those different pieces is as efficient as it can be. With the new Volt, we'll be able to go up to 50 miles fully electrically, which is a big improvement over the first generation Volt. The great thing about being a part of a company that's got a 100-year history of developing great automobiles is you get all of that learning when you're doing something new. So our owners really get the great benefit of automotive experience in engineering and design, and then on top of it, they get the new technology that comes with electric vehicles.
I truly believe the Volt is going to be iconic in the history of electric vehicles. You know, electric vehicles have been around for a long time. And at adoption of electric vehicles, I think you're going to see an inflection point at the time when the Volt was introduced. Its place in history will be well defined. Volt owners are not looking for compromise. They want a vehicle that meets all their needs, and their needs are everything from great styling, great acceleration, to not using gasoline, to the latest advances in safety technology.
So early in the design process, when we're in the studio working on the aerodynamics, the way the car looks, we're also working on safety. When it comes to preventing accidents, we have a number of different features. We have two that have to do with helping you stay in your lane. The first one is Lane Keep Assist, which will actually help nudge you back in the lane if you're not intending to actually change lanes or make a turn. We also have Lane Departure Warning, which helps to let you know that you're getting too close to the line, can give you a little audible warning. We have all the different features to help prevent having an accident, but if you were to have an accident, we have the structure that's designed to protect the occupant. We also have 10 airbags in the front and rear of the car. And if you still have an accident, we have OnStar that will respond by calling to see if you're okay, and if not, send help.
The great thing about Generation 2 is it's coming along at a time when we can really add unique safety content all around the vehicle. You know, as engineers, you seek out opportunities to learn, you seek out technical challenges, and the Volt is a great opportunity to experience that.
A lot of what you're going to see today and what you'll see in the very near future is a direct result of input from owners such as yourself.
We're always trying to learn from the experiences and from the input that we've gotten from you. We hope to keep doing that, and what we really want to know is, what do you think about how it looks?
My first question was, when can I buy it?
Second generation looks awesome. I mean, I honestly think the styling has been upgraded. I was really impressed with the interior portion of the car.
I think it actually looks like a high-performance luxury brand.
I really love what they've done with the design. To me, it's more cohesive, it's tighter and cleaner and more aggressive.
It is definitely more aggressive, but there's something more confident about it.
I can't remember the last time I went to the gas station, but I know at 10,000 miles, I'm 90% electric.
I've gone about 20,000 miles and I've only filled up one time.
I usually get about 45 miles on a charge. I don't even know what gas costs anymore.
So it really means a lot to us to have you here today and to begin this journey together for the next generation Volt.
You know, when we started just putting pencil to paper on the Volt from an exterior aspect, we really didn't think too much about the fact that it's a very unique vehicle and how it's powered. We just wanted something exciting looking, and we knew it was going to have 4 doors, but we thought, gosh, maybe more of a coupe aesthetic. We spend a lot of time on a car like this in a wind tunnel. I mean, we tune the exterior surface like you might tune a guitar. I mean, you're just dialing in the notes just perfectly so they sound right. Well, we dial in the surfaces and the line work so they look just right, but there is this hint that there is something different about the car. The biggest change from Gen 1 to Gen 2 from an exterior standpoint is the car's just got a lot more attitude. It's a lot more raked. The car's still eco, but it's gestured, it's dynamic, it's got a great stance to it.
You know, one of the philosophies right up front was, let's make the car intuitive. So if you've never been in a Volt before and you sit in the seat, you still know exactly what to do to turn the car on to drive away.
On the interior, we did a lot to add some richer materials to the vehicle throughout. It's a lot more sculpted and swept. It has a lot more movement. And then we did things in the center stack of the vehicle. We gotten feedback with Gen 1 that maybe the controls weren't as intuitive as they needed to be, so we simplified it. I think, you know, Chevrolet design has evolved over the years, and we're certainly on a new path of discovery and a new path of looking at things totally differently. We are finding new roads in what we do every day, and discovery is very, very important. We're taking some risk along the way, but that's what makes life exciting.
Today, I'm hoping you'll get a chance to see some of the dynamic aspects too that have changed since your last ride. Clearly, we've been working on the NVH. I think you'll notice that, and we've been spending some time on low-end acceleration.
Right away, you can, one of the things in the previous generation of cars was some of the noise that was generated by the tire on the road, and you can already see the big improvements we have in that. And then the dynamic piece that we drove last time was particularly impressive to me, along with the new steering calibration. It takes the car from what was a really good car to an excellent car. As we drive the car and we bring it into production, I think we're really going to excite the whole current Volt owner group, but also we're going to get customers that we never got before here with a car that is really something special.
And that's exactly the idea. We want to take the car a little more mainstream, but still keep all those things that our first Volt customers really liked and told us that they liked. We've tried to make those things better, and the things that they've said that they didn't like, we've actually tried to fix those and get them off the list.
What do I see here from a range standpoint? Holy cow.
Well, save that though. We're not supposed to talk about that today, but that is one of the things that's coming out.
Oh, that's great.
2016 Mercedes-Maybach S600.
Hey, I'm Callie Lewis.
And I'm John P.
You remember when Chevy loaned us 2 Volts for a couple weeks? We only drove the Volt while we had them so we could see exactly what it was like to live with them.
The challenge was simple. Could we drive for 2 whole weeks without using any gas? Well, let's go outside and see what it was like.
Warning, it was windy and bright out there. Welcome to Geek Beat. This episode of Geek Beat is brought to you by Domain.com.
Okay, I know the big question on everybody's mind before we even get into the details here is, should I buy a Volt?
So let's talk about first who should not buy a Volt. First of all, anyone who wants to fit 5 people in the car at the same time. You only get 4.
Guys who want to pick up hot chicks.
Anybody who drives over 50 miles per day on their daily commute to work and doesn't have a charging station at work.
Oil industry executives.
Landscapers. So who should buy a Chevy Volt?
Well, first of all, urban dwellers who have lots of short little daily commutes, they can get one of these.
Yeah, like me. Perfect for me. Anybody who has enough clout at work to be able to get their boss to install a 220 volt hookup at work.
That would be good.
Yes.
That would be good. You can get a lot of clowns in one of these, I'm sure of it.
And anyone who hates the sound of the engine roaring while they're trying to talk on the phone. What? What'd you say? I can't hear you because the engine's so loud.
You know you're not supposed to be talking while you're driving, right?
As you can see, the design is very modern, very aerodynamic, and they've incorporated a lot of little features like the side view mirror with the blinker that you see in higher end cars. Now, the gas tank is right here like on a normal car. I've only used about half a gallon. How about you, John?
Well, I haven't been quite that lucky, although I have primarily used electric. Now, on the front here, you've got another button inside that pops open the electric door. And as Callie's demonstrating, you're just gonna plug in and charge it up. Now, it'll charge on 110, but it'll take about 10 to 12 hours to do that. Or if you've got a 220, as you were talking about earlier, it only takes 3 or 4 hours. So really, if you've got the ability to charge it at home on 220, and then if you can get your boss to put a 220 in at work, you've got it made. We'll talk about range and stuff like that later.
Absolutely.
One other little design element that I wanted to point out that's a slight annoyance I think we both encountered.
Yes.
Right down underneath this front spoiler, there's a little rubber strip here. And I'm sure that's for aerodynamic purposes, but what you'll find is it's so low, there's only 2 or 3 inches of ground clearance. It'll drag across the pavement and make some noise. Okay, so let's get inside, take them for a drive, and we'll talk about the features there.
As we turn the temperature down, you're actually using basically a capacitive touchscreen that is the center console.
Indeed we are. And you know, that's like, I would say that's one of my least favorite things about this car.
It's funny because it was the most interesting thing to me right when they first announced the Chevy Volt. It's cool, it's techy, but it's also a little hard to use. They're not actually intuitive, and I can easily graze the wrong button by accident. So
also, there's a lot of buttons. It's pretty busy. Now, the car does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and so part of it is just getting used to it like any other car that you wind up with.
But you're gonna have to figure out where all your buttons are.
Down here, and it's a little difficult to find at first. But once you get used to that, my only issue was accidentally hitting something I didn't mean to hit. But the touch panel display is actually really good. I like that.
This touch panel works well. I will tell you one thing that is a little bit of an annoyance to me. Okay, let's say we have the radio on. Okay, we're listening to watercolors. That's my favorite station, by the way.
Sirius XM, right?
Sirius Jazz Watercolors. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Getting a little distracted.
We're listening to watercolors. We also have navigation on.
Yes.
Now let's say my cell phone rings, because obviously we're trying to go for as many distractions as we possibly can at once, right?
I don't think Chevy would approve.
Right, well what's gonna happen is my cell phone rings, I'm like, oh wait, I need to answer the phone. Let me just turn off the radio. You hit that to turn off the radio.
It turns everything off.
There went my nav.
Right.
Now that's an annoyance, they need to fix that.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. you know, once you find your climate, you can adjust it. You've got eco and you've got comfort, and that is, of course, a feature of this being an electric vehicle.
So see, it says it's 28%. That's like somehow how much battery it's using. Or how much power it's consuming. When you put on comfort, you see it jumped up 43,
Right.
45.
I used
47.
comfort most of the time, but I didn't have to worry about traveling too far.
That's
If I
true.
was traveling farther, I would put it on eco mode to save battery.
Well, what I ended up doing was I would hit comfort when I got in the car
Oh, just to get it
to get it
boost.
going. And then once it got to a relatively comfortable state like it is right now, I'll just hit economy.
Right.
And then, and it also is so much quieter. You notice one
It
thing.
really is a lot quieter. I think it was the first night I had the Volt, I wound up going to Payway.
Oh yeah.
So I had Chinese food, right?
Yep.
And I came out with my
Your take home.
And it
And-
fits perfectly right in here.
Right down in here, right in there.
And I actually posted a picture on Google+. It's perfect for that. There's also this awesome little cubby hole back here I usually use for my sunglasses or little extra
This
stuff
thing
here
has
and
a
there.
lot of storage.
And there's one up here.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a 12 volts.
There's a 12 volt, so you can put your cell phone in there, and then
of course the glove compartment
glove
box
compartment.
is on the smaller side, but you don't.
and
really
the doors have
Yes.
they have their little
We've
storage
got our
space.
keys in here.
Also in the back between the two rear seats, there's a little what would you call that little storage box area there?
Yeah.
It's not covered, but
It
that
also
one
has a 12 volt.
Yeah, it's got a 12 volt as well. So if you have somebody in the back who's got a cell phone and they need it powered, you could, power it back there as
And
well.
this thing actually holds quite a bit in the trunk space.
It's cavernous.
So-
You can see back there where we've got the camera rigged up, providing that rear view and getting our microphone.
Now with the battery, we're getting on average about 30 miles for each charge.
I think we both got that pretty consistently, even though we have different driving styles. When we look at the dashboard here, right now what we're seeing is there's a little battery and it says 12 miles remaining on it. When you first start up the car, it says, how many miles, and like you're saying, it might say 30.
Right.
And then as soon as you get in the car and start driving, it might drop to 25 or
Yeah.
26 very quickly. And you're
Right.
like, I didn't go 4 or 5 miles. But what I've also noticed is if you note the starting and ending mileage, it fluctuates a lot in the little meter here, but you still end up going about 30 miles.
Right.
Now, one of the other things too is you see that little button ball thing on the right. If I step on it really fast, or if I step on the brakes, you
It
see
is
it's
like
moving.
a video game. It's seriously, driving this car is like a video game. You want to
keep it right
you wanna
in the
keep it right in
middle.
the middle. You want to beat the ball, essentially.
That's right. It gives you the best gas mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of it, but it's also fun.
Yeah.
Although I found that after, at the end of the 2 weeks, I kind of started to ignore it.
Did you really? Yeah, you didn't care so much.
Well, because I knew I wasn't going to hit my gas. I knew I wasn't going to run out of battery. I got used to my patterns.
Right.
And I felt okay spending a little extra energy.
Yeah.
All right, before John shows you one of his favorite features of the Chevy Volt, we need to thank the people who make it possible for us to share cool things like this.
Listen, if you get a Volt and you decide you love it so much that you want to share your love with the whole world, head on over to domain.com and grab the domain voltlove.com. Yeah, it's available. And so are hundreds of others.
Either way, we want to know what domain names you registered this month. Getting a name from domain.com is a smooth, hassle-free process with none of those annoying offers and unnecessary stuff. Use coupon code Callie to get 15% off. And if you go to domain.com/Callie, you'll get a free 2 gig flash drive. Code Callie.
I like free.
Okay, we're gonna pull over for just a second because I want to show everybody something kind of cool.
Okay, what's that?
I've got an iPod.
Yes.
So if you look down here in the armrest, okay, right here, there's a USB connector. Now watch what happens. I'm gonna plug in the USB. Okay, iPod's gonna turn on. And look, it automatically switches over to the iPod and begins playing it.
Nice. Turn it on.
Well, let's show people how to turn it on, right? So we've got the keys. I think you have them in your pocket. You got a little key fob. So all you do is you get in, you got to put your foot on the brake and you hit the power button. There you go. It's turned on.
And you get that little sound.
It gives you a little sound.
So
it did
answer our
indeed.
question, it does play the iPod directly.
Plays the iPod. It goes straight back to the iPod. Whoa! I had cranked it up before. Okay. So I'm gonna unplug the iPod. Okay, that's unplugged. USB device disconnected. And guess what? It went right back to watercolors, which is nice. Okay. Here, let me tell you how you can maximize your range. What you need to do is when you're accelerating, you need to accelerate like your grandmother.
Right.
Okay? Remember that little ball right there, okay? What we have to do is if you give it too much gas, okay, that ball's gonna move up. You see how it moves? Oh, we don't want that.
No, we want it to be nice and green with the leaves on it.
That's right.
I'm calling them leaves.
The leaves. And then braking, it's hard to brake without it coming out of the ball. I mean, you basically...
You're always going to, but...
You basically need to coast to a stop in order to be efficient according to this thing. I'm just gonna really give it the juice. Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
I'm not ready because there's a red light right up ahead.
That's okay, we're not gonna go too far, but we're gonna give it a little bit. Here we go, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so right off the bat...
You know, I do love how I don't feel hindered. If I need to pull out in front of a car, you know, timing wise or whatever, I get that oomph, I get that go.
Yeah, the reason why is because this car has electric motors. It has torque, which is that low end pull right off the bat. Right. You know, it's got a lot of torque, so you feel like you're going fast. Now, it doesn't have a huge amount of horsepower. It has 150 horsepower, so that limits your top end speed.
Which I hear someone has actually hit.
Somebody might have tested that. If there's any law enforcement officials watching right now, I wouldn't know anything about it, but it has been alleged that I might have gone top speed in this car. There may be a photograph somewhere that demonstrates said property, but...
And that would be his Google Plus page.
Did you read the owner's manual?
Of course not. I just play with gadgets until I figure them out. You should know that about me by now.
When it comes to cars, I actually read the owner's manual.
You read every owner's manual. What are you
not
talking
every
about?
owner's manual, but I definitely read the car owner's manuals. And so you learn some cool things about it. Number one, this CD slot here is also a DVD slot. And if you stick a DVD in there, you can watch a DVD movie right here in the car.
Nice. Only when it's stopped, though.
Only when it's stopped.
Okay.
Until somebody figures out how to hack that.
Assignment.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. What are the goodies?
One of the main questions I get about this car online is what the difference is exactly between this and other electric vehicles. How it works differently.
Well, you know, electric vehicles come in different shapes and sizes, I guess. You've got pure electrics like the Nissan Leaf. And all that car has is an electric motor and a battery.
And if you run out, then you're screwed.
If you run out, you call, you know, tow truck or something, I guess.
I honestly cannot imagine living like that.
Well, I mean, it depends on what your daily drive is like, doesn't it? I mean, a Nissan Leaf will go something like 80 miles, let's say.
Okay.
Okay, well 80 miles is, if you live in an urban environment and you never drive more than 5 or 10 miles in a given, you know, day, you know, or trip. I mean,
yeah, but what happens if all of a sudden you get spontaneous and decide to drive to the movie theater that's, you know, past your limit?
You don't.
See?
That is a problem.
And then that has to be a decision on the buyer.
That's right. That's one kind, is a pure electric. Then you've got the hybrid, which is an electric assist on a gas motor. A lot of cars work like this. A Prius does. Other GM vehicles, like the big Tahoes, you can get a hybrid motor with a large SUV, and so it's got a small electric motor that provides assistance. So when you come to a full stop, that small electric motor will be what's used to take you from a stop to, you know, maybe 20 miles an hour, after which time the gas engine will kick in. Now this car is fairly unique because it does something no other car does. You drive on pure electric mode all the time. I mean, we could be going 100 miles an hour, theoretically, and be in electric mode, okay? Right. But what happens is at certain points, the gas motor turns in and turns on, and it provides some assistance as well. So there's actually direct drive from the gas motor to the drivetrain. I mean, the gas motor
providing the gas motor is providing assistance even when you're on battery.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
when you're running on battery, the gas motor does nothing. Okay, well, that's not entirely true. Sometimes the gas engine will turn on for certain things, like if the battery needs to be warmed up, it circulates fluid through the battery to keep it nice and cool, or to keep it warm or to keep it cool. It can regulate the temperature, so sometimes the engine may turn on for that purpose. But the engine doesn't have to turn on is the point when you're driving. But after you exhaust the battery fully, now the engine turns on, and now the engine is powering the car, and other cars don't do that.
Okay.
So you normally would have the engine act as an alternator and charge the battery and then be only on battery, but in this car, the battery and the gas engine, they switch back and forth, which is interesting.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience with the Volt. It's a very geeky car. You can't deny that for sure. And I've had fun with it. There are those minor things that we talked about that are a little frustrating on the user experience. Of course, every car has its
And remember, this is the first time this has been built, okay? First generation. It's great for a Generation 1 vehicle.
It's awesome.
It's going to only get better Generation 2, Generation 3 when it gets more computing power, more customization, potentially, things like that. You had good results too with your gas mileage.
Yes, I did.
It looks like you used
less than a gallon.
0.6 gallons, and you've gone 293 miles as of this moment. So you're averaging over 250 miles a gallon. That's a lot.
How'd you do, John?
I didn't do that great. We'll have to take a look, but mine is, I got around 500 miles. I traveled around 500 miles because I have a much longer daily commute than you do. And I also took some longer trips, like I drove from Dallas over to Fort Worth, which is 50 miles one way.
Right.
So when you do that, obviously you're going to exhaust your full 30 miles and then go straight onto gas and be on gas for the rest of the day. But
the most I ever drove in one trip was 30 miles.
Oh yeah. So I drove 100 miles round trip in a period of a couple of hours, and that ended up using a little gas. But even with my more aggressive driving style, my longer commute, etc., I've gone 500 miles. I used about 5.5 gallons.
That's
so
not bad
I'm still averaging almost 90 miles a gallon.
So it can be a good option for somebody who is driving quite a bit because you're still saving a lot of money in gas.
Well, yeah, let's think about the math here, okay? How much money are you actually saving in gas, okay? So you've gone, let's say 300 miles. That's about one tank on your car.
Right.
What do you normally pay to fill up your car?
$45.
$45. And how often do you typically have to do that? Once every week or two?
Yeah, about a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Okay, so $45, let's just call it 50, okay? And let's say that it's, twice a month. That's $100 a month you're going to save. That's not exactly enough to justify the purchase of a new car.
No, I wouldn't do it just for that purpose, no. But if you were already buying a car and you were already looking at the electric vehicle,
then what you could say is, you could afford to spend an extra $100 a month on this car and still be break even versus a car that would be buying gas. That's the way I would look at this particular purchase from an energy consumption standpoint.
That's a good outlook.
Well, that is a lot of info to digest, but we told you we'd make sure you got the full experience right along with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to our friends at Chevy for the Loaners, and thanks to you guys for watching. If there are any products, big or small, that you want us to try before you buy, just let us know. At John Pose on Twitter, John P on Google+.
Callie Lewis on Google+ and Twitter.
Bye guys.